Well, I was alarmed to find out that some people in the Wall Street Journal audience might be alarmed to find out that Republicans are finally getting what they've been asking for all these years. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. This episode of Right Angles brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. And gentlemen, I read this lead in the Wall Street Journal under a headline that said, Trump advisors weigh plan to dismantle education department. And it says this, Trump administration officials are weighing executive actions to dismantle the education department as part of a campaign by billionaire Elon Musk and his allies to shrink federal agencies and slash the size of the government workforce. Stephen Green, I was fine with the entire paragraph until I got to that phrase, a campaign by billionaire Elon Musk and his allies to shrink the Steve, isn't this what we've been trying to accomplish for like 40 or 50 years? How is it suddenly billionaire Elon Musk's campaign? I thought it was the objective of the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. To give you my favorite example of just how soulless so many elected Republicans are. Let me give you the counterexample first. Barry Goldwater, a personal hero of mine, he was accused back when he was, I believe, on the city council of wherever he was from in Arizona. I can't remember anymore. He was accused by his opponent of wanting representation without taxation because he went and he cut so much spending and cut so much taxes. And of course, Goldwater took this as a point of pride.
Oh, yeah.
He was just beaming. Oh, yeah, that's me, all right. Flash forward to, I think it was the 1990s. It might have been early in this century. I can't remember, but Mitch McConnell. Oh, it was during the Tea Party days. That's when it was. Early Tea Party days. Mitch McConnell was explaining why he'd never been a big fan of spending cuts. He said, I've never had anybody in my office. I've never had anybody show up at my office asking me to cut spending. You stupid SOB. You're a Republican. It's supposed to be in your blood. You're supposed to go out there and find the waste and cut it and save us money because you're a Republican. There's an R right after your name, although you didn't earn it, you waste. And now we have in Elon Musk, who, by the way, is a government employee now. He's working for, I can't remember what the office is, but it's an existing executive branch.
Yeah, it's like an
White
office
House
of digital
office.
something or other
That Trump renamed Doge because it's great branding and Musk gets his Doge thing out there, and that's fun, that's cool. But the point is, we finally have somebody in the executive branch doing for the federal government what Barry Goldwater was doing in Arizona in the 1940s. And God knows we need it, Scott. But the thing of it is, you read all these news reports, and the media needs a bad guy. You need a villain. I made villains out of the USAID program in my segment this week. But you need a villain. And so many of these reporters, even at the Wall Street Journal now, are young progressives. And when it comes to cutting government spending, that's bad. So the person doing the cutting must be bad. And it's so easy to paint this foreign-born billionaire as a bad guy because, ooh, evil billionaire. And we won't talk about George Soros.
You know,
But
I guess
they've got their bad guy. That's it. They've got their bad guy.
Can I add something to that, just real quick? Because when they say it's a result of billionaire Elon Musk, what they're really trying to do is to delegitimize it, and
That's it.
The way they delegitimize it is they make it say, here comes this one rich individual using his power and influence to cut the budget. But what they're doing there is they're avoiding the fact that the American people overwhelmingly voted for this. That's the part that focusing on Elon Musk manages to avoid, right? The fact that there was a significantly one-sided election that was calling exactly for this.
I mean, Bill, that phrase, like after the campaign by billionaire Elon Musk and his allies, to shrink federal agencies and slash the size of the government workforce. Like, I understood this as being one of the central tenets of the Republican Party, or at least the conservative movement for all these years. And now you're right, it's to diminish him, linking that up with Elon Musk and suggesting that somehow it's connected with him. Here's, Bill, the other weird phenomenon I'm seeing, and I saw this happen in local government too. First, when you suggest that spending could be cut, they tell you that every penny is absolutely essential. And then if you say, well, why don't we just eliminate the whole department? They try to convince you that, well, it's nothing. It's like it's $20 billion a year. It's not significant. Why would you waste your time eliminating a department that spends only $20 billion a year? It's a trifle. And so they try to, at the same time, make it seem like it's absolutely crucial and it's totally insignificant. They're playing both ends against the middle. And Bill, I guess this, tell me if you agree, is this a moment where we find out whether there is a Republican Party?
Well, we already know what happens when Republicans are in power, and that is business as usual. This is not a Republican revolution. This is a Maga revolution. And people need to get that distinction through their heads right quick. One of the things that Donald Trump was able to do, we talked about this briefly on our Backstage show for members only, was he was able to put together the MAGA right and the Maha left, the Make America Healthy Again. He was able to put together a coalition of people who may not agree on many things, but they do agree on something called brokenism, that the system is broken, that it's unfair, that it's corrupt, and it is not reformable through evolution. It is irredeemably corrupt and has to be cleared away like it has to be burned away like undergrowth brush. This is the genius of Trump's coalition, is that he's able to get people who believe that big government is corrupt and stealing all this money from us, and also to get people who think that big business is corrupt and stealing all this money from us, and form a coalition that's kind of an outsiders versus the insiders, as I said before, where we can at least agree that we are getting robbed. I think that's the one thing that everybody can pretty much come to an agreement on, is we're getting robbed. There are people that are taking our tax money and putting it in our pockets. No one believes that this system is working the way it's supposed to work. No one believes that we are paying a reasonable cost for goods and services that goes to the provider of the goods and services. You either doubt the government side or you doubt the business side, or you doubt them both. But that's the genius of what we're seeing, and why so many of the old analyses don't hold up. But the thing that really is the salient point here, you've kind of smiled around it when you were reading the article, is that despite the fact that we've all been at this for pushing 20 years now, the three of us, the left still doesn't understand who we are and what we want. They don't have a clue. They're promoting. It's like, don't you understand? If he keeps this up, he's going to be tearing apart the size of the government. And Steve.
Stop! Steve Turley, I can only get so excited.
Please. Dr. Steve Turley has a show, and he said something I thought was really spot on. He said, here's the thing with the left and why the left hates the American voters. The left thinks that people that don't vote for them have an intellectual impediment that prevents them from seeing how morally righteous the left really is. That there's something wrong with them. Something wrong with us. There's something, you see, the reason that the American people voted the way they voted back in November was because Donald Trump had basically hypnotized them into a cult. That when they find out what Donald Trump is really all about, then is when the cheese is going to hit the fan. And so they report things like, as in my statement, Donald Trump is about to start a trade war, and Donald Trump is cutting aid, and Donald Trump is threatening to take back the Panama Canal, and they think that the viewers and the people in the country are going to hear this as terrible news because they think it's terrible news. But we just sit there and go, when? Are tickets available? Can we broadcast this as a pay-per-view? They don't understand that they are so far out of touch that they are antithetical to what the large majority of the American people believe, especially on issues like illegal immigration, for instance, which is something like 88% supported.
It's funny because when they make the argument that $20 billion a year isn't much, and so why would anybody make a fuss over trying to eliminate this department? That I don't think is fundamentally, I mean, I know Elon Musk is using this personal metric of how many dollars a day can he save through the Department of Government Efficiency. But fundamentally, why Republicans over the years have said, let's shut down the Department of Education, which was started by executive order in the 1970s by President Jimmy Carter and later legislated into congressional existence, so to speak. The reason why we want to get rid of that is not because of the waste of money. There are much bigger wastes of money throughout the federal government. It's because we don't believe that your children should be outsourced to some remote strangers to decide how they'll be brought up.
Bingo.
And as long as your local school teachers and administration have to dance to the tune called by the federal government, that's what you have done. You have outsourced the upbringing of your children to remote strangers, and you've given them your money and basically said, do whatever you want. And as long as the local districts are addicted to those federal funding sources and the money that channels through the state to the localities, they will not be able to be true expressions of what parents in your community really want to see. And it essentially is a group of parents who have washed their hands of responsibility for their own children. They don't think of it that way. They think of it as, oh, I want the best for my child, and therefore we want to maximize the amount of money that the federal government sends to us, forgetting that we sent the money to the federal government, they wash it, it shrinks, and they send us back a small portion of it and tell us how to use it. That just doesn't make any sense. And so anybody who's upset right now about the possibility that the education department is going to go away should ask this question. Are you incompetent to raise your own children? Do you believe that most of your community is incompetent to bring up its own children? If you do, if you think all those people are incompetent to do that, what makes you think that some remote strangers can do it better? So here's hoping that Donald Trump is successful and very constitutionally appropriate in doing everything he does with regard to this. The education department at the federal level did not used to exist. It does not need to exist now. And the sooner we return parenting to the parents and schools to the local communities, the better off we all are. For Steve Green and Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.